Chapter 14, Medieval Europe, Lesson 1. It's about the geography of Europe. So we have 4 different regions in Europe. We have the Northwest Mountains, which is up here, north. And then we have the Central Uplands right here. The Alpine Mountain System, which we know a lot about studying Italy and Greece. And then we have the North European Plain. Europe is the second smallest continent on Earth and extends from the Arctic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. Europe, the only smaller continent outside of Europe is Australia. Every other continent is a lot bigger. The Ural Mountains separate Europe from Asia. So if we take a look at this map right here, the mountains are going to be right along here, and it separates Europe from Asia and right here along Russia. So here's a picture of what these mountains look like. Okay, here's our graph. We're going to talk about each different part of Europe, the 4 different parts. So the first one is the Southwest Mountains, or Northwest Mountains, which are right here up in the north. The thin soil and steep slopes make poor for farming. So people here are not going to farm just because the land is not good. Climate varies. Higher elevation, the climate is cooler. So your climate isn't going to be as strong as we have here in Kansas. Your summers aren't going to be as warm. Your winters are going to be as cold. But because it has mountains up there, you're going to see a lot cooler weather. And they're going to have a big mix of different types of weather. Because their land is not good for farming, their jobs would be to herd animals or cut timber. The North European Plain. So the North European Plain is going to be right along here, around modern-day Poland. The flat and rolling land includes some of the world's most fertile farmland. So here you can kind of compare it to Kansas. You're going to see a lot of flat land, and you're going to see a lot of farming. Their land's really good for farming. Their weather is also very temperate, and what temperate means is just mild. So they have really good seasons. Doesn't get super cold, doesn't get super hot. So we just were looking at the North Mountains. Those are going to get a lot colder. Here you're not going to see as cold of winters. And also, because their land is so flat and good, they do a lot of farming of wheat and other grains. The Central Uplands. The Central Uplands are going to be in modern-day Germany and France. It's going to include low mountains, high plateau. So a plateau is like a hill, a big hill with the top cut off, so people can actually live up there, and forest. Along the Atlantic coast, winters are going to be very mild. So their winters aren't going to get very cold, and their summers are going to be cool. So they're not going to get super warm, and that's because you're right along the Atlantic coast there. And they do grow crops here. They grow potatoes, cabbage, and onions. Then the last one is the Alpine Mountain System. So if you take a look at this map right here, that's going to be along modern-day Italy and Greece. This includes the Alps and the Carpathian Mountains. So you're going to see a lot of mountains in this area. They have very hot and dry summers and mild and rainy winters, okay? So their summers are going to look really, really warm, but their winters aren't going to be very cold. It's going to look more kind of like spring where it rains a lot, but it's going to be very cool weathers. The ancient Greeks overused this land long ago when we were studying ancient Greece. They used a lot of it for farming, and it really kind of ruined the land. So now not a lot of farming goes on there. Actually, modern-day farmers use crop rotation, so maybe one year they'll plant corn, next year they'll plant wheat, and then they'll take a year off so that it doesn't ruin their land. And the Greeks didn't kind of know this technique yet, so they really overuse their land, and it's not very good for farming anymore. Most of Europe has very temperate or mild climate. As you can tell, we just talked about the 4 different regions of Europe, but all of it has very mild weather, not as extreme as we might see here in Kansas. Europe has a lot of rivers that they use for transportation. The longest river that we're going to talk about is the Volga River, and it flows through Russia to the Caspian Sea. So if you look right here, you can find the Volga River, which is right up here, and it goes all the way down, so the longest river in Europe. And there's actually a picture of it in Budapest, Hungary. The Danube River is Europe's second longest river. It is the main route in the south central part of the continent. So if you take a look again, you'll see this river running right along here. So it's in the central part. And then the Rhine River is the third river we're going to talk about, and this is the backbone, and it's the busiest water system in Europe. And so if you look at this river right here, you're going to see it right up here. So it's really busy, a lot of traffic on this river, a lot of goods being transported. Many cities emerged alongside rivers where European traders have transported goods on the waterways for more than 2,000 years. And that is the end of lesson 1.